turn around to staff. Okay. We'll try to make sure that they work. 8.11, Community Services Report 33, the tender summary report. It is recommendation on page 105. Councillor Bunce, you move the recommendation. Councillor Underwood, second.
Yep.
Questions on any of those? All in favor of that? Carried. Question?
Yes, I guess there's a motion I'd like to make with regards to this report, which is an excellent report, I appreciate it too. But I would like to make a motion that for staff to provide a report, probably the Director of Community Services in August, on the status of the dust suppression on the rural roads, and consider investing up to the budgeted $76,000 if additional dust suppression is warranted, since the tender has come in quite a bit lower than we budgeted. Thank you. Is that okay?
I guess I'm questioning procedures, whether we have an extra motions on spending extra money. The money's in the dollar, the budget.
Oh, no, it's budgeted.
The budget, okay, there's money in the dollars, but we should let staff at their discretion if there's a need for more. Councillor Scott.
No, I don't think that, I think if they are under budget and there's money left over, they need to come back to us to tell us, you know, hey, it worked or it didn't work, and I need to use some more of the money. This is the amount I suspect I'll need when we put a motion forward. Because once that money is spent, if I recall, what our treasurer told me was that it goes back into reserves. Right? Is that not true? Do you use Janet? If we have money in the budget and we get a lower bid, money goes back to reserves. Is that correct?
For capital items, but this is an operating item, so
Okay.
it's in the operating item.
Staff has the discretion to go up to that limit in the operating portion of the budget, so I don't think the motion is required for staff to do the dust suppression as required. Deputy Mayor Day.
Well, I'm sure that staff is watching these things too, but it's just a matter of accountability, and we would just like to know, because I know in other years, sometimes dust has been a problem for one reason or another, and we can spend up to $76,000, and I think we should be perhaps coming back and asking council whether this is something they want to do in August.
I guess if council. Councillor Underwood.
Yeah, I was there at that tender. And what it comes down to, the way I understood it, was that we put out for tenders for a certain amount of gravel or a certain amount of dust suppression protection, and people submitted their tenders. And they came in, and we were going for the cheapest bidder because he's also proven, right? And he's come under, and the way I understand it, it's an operating budget. If they need to go over, they're going to come back and say, yeah, we need to use some more and get some more stuff. So I mean, I just
If they go over.
If they go over 76, yeah, but I don't want to hear every time they go over. I don't need a report on the day-to-day operations of the municipality from.
I'm a little confused. Can I ask for clarification? What you're really asking for is the money that's been allocated and been spent, you'd like to know by August, because dust has been a problem on rural roads. If the treatment that has already been put down, is it working, or do we need to put more? That's what you're asking, right?
Okay.
But that's
Right, and potentially spend up to $76,000, which we budgeted. Not over, just up to the $76,000.
What you're asking for is it's not
Is it
necessarily
working?
spending, is a staff report by whatever date, is it working?
That's correct.
So the money's kind of, the money's kind of an aside at this point. What you really want to know is it working? If it's not, then you can reconsider spending.
Correct. We're not reconsidering anything.
No.
We're just spending up to that amount.
Yeah.
August.
End of August,
That's
first of
the
August.
date.
so we want to report on the dust control.
We had a lot of complaints last year. We'd like to make sure we don't have them.
All in favor of that? Opposed?
Why is he voting?
8.12. Lambton Shores Harbor Working Group draft terms of reference. There's a recommendation on page 110. Councillor Scott.
Before we make motions or anything on this, I was under the understanding that the Harbor Working Group was going to be a committee of council. I understood from the discussion that we had here that it wasn't going to be a staff-driven thing. It was going to be bringing people in on a long-term basis, just like the Committee of Adjustment, so that they were going to start and get together, and that there was going to be, I figured it was going to be similar to a Committee of Adjustment, community trails sort of committee.
You mean an advisory?
An advisory committee, just kind of like that concept. I didn't think we were going to just bring people in sort of, from what I read on that, on a basis of, you know, coming in and giving some direction, or not direction to staff, some resolutions and suggestions. I thought this was going to be an ongoing thing. So I had a little trouble with it. It's an excellent report for what it is, but I just didn't think that was the direction that we discussed that day, that was all.
What was the motion that was put forth to bring this report back? It was talking about a working group, and staff were supposed to come back with a recommendation on how to make this work.
Well,
The clerk has the motion
The
here.
motion from January 14th was that staff draft terms of reference for a proposed working group to deal with the issues of long-term maintenance of the work cranks and brand and harbor.
That's what we got. We got what we asked for as far as, it wasn't, it didn't say a committee, it said a working group. Councillor Russell.
Yeah, and I think Councillor Scott's interpretation of the feeling, I think, is correct. It's the terminology. The motion says a working group, and I think Brent has given us a feeling of a way of a working group and how we can do it. So personally, I like the idea of more of an advisory committee. Give it legs a little longer. I don't think it's the reports we're getting now about I think Councillor Underwood mentioned it the last time we talked about this issue. The reports we're getting on water levels, we talked about Grand Bend. Councillor McGuire talked about it's going to be a very long-term type of thing. We're going to get into retaining walls. There's a whole bunch of issues, and we do have, as we all were brought to our attention 2 years ago when we were elected, we had our tour. We have a major issue at the Grand Bend Harbor. So that this has legs that are longer than just the response to a few inquiries about lower water. This has legs. I'm not sure if this working group, as described here, would be the correct forum. It may be the way to start it, so that just think this through for a second. We did have an excellent task force that took care of the EDC thoughts. You know, I had all these ideas about EDC, and they formulated the ideas, brought together, and recommended something, didn't they? And I think in a similar sense, this could be done. The working group actually goes through the thing with the assistance of staff, just like Brent's saying, and at the end of that process, they make 4 recommendations and say that it should look like this, and it will be able to do certain things. And then you have a process, right? An ongoing process like this, he makes a comment here twice about who's going to chair this, and I really don't envy the chair. I think I'd rather have a more structured thing if I was chair, but that's just my opinion.
Councillor Johnston.
I guess it's probably appropriate to have a discussion about this before a motion's put out, because I can't support this report in the format it's in, through you to Brent, for one simple reason. I go back to the fishbowl. We live in a fishbowl, and I can see all kinds of issues with inviting certain people and other people not being invited. This is arguably one of the most contentious areas for recreational people in both of these locations. It's going to be a hugely expensive proposition to maintain any type of level of recreational use given different sizes of boats in the years. And I think what we need to do is to make it a committee of council. I think